Well, hi there, everybody. This is Justin Dyke from CartoonSmart.com, and we are going to be testing out on-demand resources. I am in Xcode 7 here. We're going to be doing some iOS 9 only stuff, or thinking ahead. As long as you're using iOS 9, whatever is higher than that, is it going to be 10? Nobody knows. So what I've done is I've created a new SpriteKit-based project. It is using Swift, and I've got some assets already imported in here. They're just called FunImage and FunImage2. And what we're going to do is we're going to tag these so that we can download them as needed. All right, so we're going to just assume that whatever app I'm making, I don't need this content right away. Perhaps it's images for the background of level 5 of a game, and you're going to start at level 1, so you don't really need level 5's content right away. So we're going to put a tag in here. We'll just call it fun tag. Hey, they're called fun images, so why not call them fun tag? And now these are kind of grouped together as kind of in the same asset pack that is going to get downloaded as needed. And what's really cool too about this is when you upload your binary to Apple with these tags in there, they're going to say, hey, look at this. We've got these asset packs now with the label fun tag. We're gonna put that off to the side. We're going to take it out of the app, and we'll deliver it to the user as they need it. Now, of course, our job is to basically, kind of tell the app when they're going to be needed. So let's go over here to our just our project, and we've got a new pane in here called resource tags, and you can see that fun tag was included in here automatically by default in the download only on demand section, but we can actually move this up or down where we want it. So if we this is where we're going to end up leaving it, but let's put it up here in the prefetch tag order for right now. What's going to happen with prefetching stuff is it is separate from the initial app size or the initial app binary, but when the user downloads the app, the initial one, this stuff is going to it's going to start downloading. It might be immediately after they install the app. It might be after they first start running it. Whichever one, right? They're usually pretty close together in time. And then the priority-wise, this is actually in order. So if you had other tags inside of here, the highest one up is going to get prioritized, okay? So again, this is not stuff that is going to initially come with the app, but it will get downloaded right afterwards. So you can kind of think of it as like maybe level 2 content. You want it to be there almost right away, but it doesn't have to be there right away. And then for stuff that you definitely want to be there right away, well, first off, I would probably not tag it at all, okay? But they do give you this option here where you can have initial install tags. Now, keep in mind, if you don't tag anything, it's going to be available in the binary like usual, okay? So, again, don't tag it if you definitely know that you're going to want it to be here in the app for all times and always be accessible, okay? But I get why they're doing initial install tags, because let's say you have a game that is you've got 100 megabytes dedicated just to level 1, and if you realize if it's like a quest game or something like that, someone is not going to go back and play level 1, maybe if ever or at all, whatever. So at that point it's safe to kind of start purging out some of those initial assets. And if your game was like 2 gigabytes or something, this could really come in handy. So let's go though and put this back into our download only on demand, and let's take a look at the code that we're going to use to download those assets as needed. And you're looking at, as usual, the starting game scene code, which we, speaking of purges, let's purge this and just get rid of everything. Okay, so what we're going to do is write a function first to preload the assets, and then one that is going to actually do some conditional checking to see if the assets are available or the tagged content is available. And if it is, that's great. We'll do whatever. If it's not, we're going to start downloading it. Okay, so let's start though with preloading, because that's pretty easy. And what we'll do is we'll pass an array to this function that is going to have our tags. Okay, and in this case, we'll put in here fun tag, and we could just leave it at that. If you want to comma separate out and put in other tags, you can load them all at the same time, but since we really don't, no other tags, we're not going to do that. So let's just go ahead and backspace. If you do try to pass in there a tag that doesn't exist, you're going to get a warning about it. It's not going to be the end of the world. There's not going to be a Stay Puft Marshmallow Man going through the city, but you know, you don't need to see those ugly warnings. Okay, so here's going to be our function name, preload resource with tag, and we're passing in our array. So now all we have to do is actually write this function, and we'll come down here, func, and this will be preload resource with tag, and we'll call this tag array once it gets into the actual meat of the function. Specify that this is going to be an array and it's going to contain string items. And all right, now from here, what we're going to do is create an NS set based on that array. So we're just going to say let tags. That'll be the NS set, and this will be array and tag array. All right, so. All right, once you've done that, now what we're going to do is write let resource request. It's kind of a long name now I think about it. I could have just gone with request. And we're going to put in here NS bundle resource request, which kind of fits what it's doing. Requesting something for the bundle, right? And then we're just going to put in there NS bundle resource request. Let me give myself a little bit more room over here. And it wants tags set up in this as a set, so it's going to be tags as set, and then you just do string like so. Okay. All right, and we should, at this point, not be seeing any, well, we'll probably get a message about this not being used, but at least that one's going to go away, so we know that we're on the right track. And then from here, we're going to write resource request dot begin, and look at this, the king, the Mac Daddy of all function names, begin accessing resource with completion handler. Okay, so we've got that in there, and what I want you to do is do the squiggly opening bracket, and then just put in here error, and then in, and then come down here another line. What we're going to do is write ns operation q dot main q dot add operation with block, and again just kind of hit delete right after that and do another opening squiggly bracket, and you can see it's already put in one for the bottom of that. And what we'll do is we'll check for an error in here, so let's put check for error. And then after that, we'll actually, you know, assuming there wasn't an error, we've got our downloaded resources, okay? Or we've begun downloading them. And I believe I need one more closing bracket. There it is right up there. That closes off that little guy. And we're almost actually done with this. So just put in here guard error equals nil else. And then, so if there was an error, it's going to be inside of here, and we're just gonna we'll just print out what the error was. Okay, so put in there error exclamation, and it wants that little guy, and just return. Surprise actually doesn't want that after the return. Anyway, all right, we've taken care of that, and then print. We're actually doing less when we're succeeding, because all we're doing is running a print statement here. Preloading on demand resources. Okay, now keep in mind, in my little hypothetical situation here, I mean, we're just preloading them. That's all we want to do. Okay, so you might call this function from your level 1 with the tags that relate to level 2. Okay, now you're on level 1 though, so you don't probably need to do anything after this. You just, you know, we just want to know that, hey, we preloaded them so that they are going to be available. What's really kind of more important is the next function where we check to see if they are available, and then if so, it's kind of good to proceed, or we can do whatever after that. And if not, obviously we're going to basically just end up running this code again. And now that I'm also thinking about it, you could, I was like, wait, can we reuse this? But no, that doesn't actually make too much sense with what I had planned. All right, so let's go and write this. And you know what, since let's go ahead and just paste it in. It is really similar. The one of the bigger differences is really just in here. I'm going to paste it in and we'll call it. So now we're going to do load resource with tag, and actually for this it's load resources. I guess I could have pluralized either one of them, but let's go ahead and take a look at it. So we've got load resources with tag. Again, we're just passing in an array. We are setting up an NS bundle resource request, and here's where the first change occurs. We're saying resource request dot conditionally begin accessing resources with completion handler, and what we're getting out of this is really just a resources available bool value, and that's the first thing that we check right here. So if resources available, and that's of course just short for really just writing, if resources available equals true, then what we're going to do is just print out on-demand resources already available, and then do something with the resources. Okay, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But if that's not the case, then our little else statement runs, and then you've got request dot begin accessing resources with completion handler, which is the same thing we had over here. Although when I was kind of reviewing my code earlier, I was like, wait, looks like wherever I copied this from, I ended up getting two different types of error checking or error handling down here. So you can kind of pick your flavor of the two, but hopefully that's not the case. And we'll come down here and just print out on-demand resources downloaded. We'll now display them. So keep in mind that this is going to imply that they actually are downloaded, and you can do something with them at that point. Okay. So what we might want to do is display, one or more images. So let's actually set that up, because that's kind of something visual. It's actually kind of fun to try. But I guess, well, should we test now or should we do this? Let's do this first. And so I'm not writing at the bottom of your screen. Display resources, and put that over here. What we'll do is we'll say let fun image sk sprite node. This is going to equal sk sprite node image named, and that is fun image. Now, of course, that's not the tag. That's the actual name of the image, but it was tagged. And then what we'll do is we'll say self.add child fun image, and then I've been getting into doing this recently. Check it out. Position equals, and what we'll do is we'll put a placeholder in the scene. So I'll write self.child node with name placeholder. We'll go set that up in just a moment. Since it's optional, you have to put that little question mark right there, then position. But we do have to force a value out of this, so we do that right there. And I could be a little bit better. I could say like if this exists or does not equal nil, something like that. But I'm being a little sloppy for right now. That's okay. So go over here to game scene, and I think we had more kind of horizontal size images. So actually, even before that, go over here to general. It's already set to portrait. Okay, we'll just make sure. Okay, yeah, and get this back open over here. Let's set this up so that it's 414. We'll just use 6+ sizes. There we go. And like I was saying, all I'm going to do is just put a little note out here. It says placeholder. So that's the name that we were referring to. Child node with name, and the code example, and that's close enough to the middle. So what we'll do is we'll put an image here, and we're gonna create an image, add it as a child to the scene, and then just place it where our little placeholder is at. And of course, this all assumes that everything loaded up fine with our on-demand resources. But we do need to actually call this function. So let's come right down here, display resources. Now we're doing that if the resources are available. You might have to put self in front of that. And we're also going to do that same thing if we downloaded them. So I think we can give this a shot. Bum, 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 bum. Oh, look at that. We actually are seeing something. That is such a good sign, because watch what happens if we come over here and we write fun tag 2. We don't have fun tag 2. So we're not seeing anything at that point, and we should be seeing a big fat error message over here. I don't know why it told me that. Let's see. Well, that a false positive, but it is telling me that it can't locate the asset pack for the bundle, and that just means that basically we tried to show this. We tried to show that image, and the tag wasn't available. So I still count that as a little bit of a success. I'm not exactly sure why it would do that resource, but hey, it's okay. All right, let's go back to making that success again. And what I'm also going to do is come back over here to our game scene, and let's bring in a label. We're going to put this guy, position it well above anything else. Well, there's really nothing else on here, so we'll put the Z position up at 20, and then we'll just put in here % loaded. This is really just kind of dummy text because we'll make it invisible unless we are loading something. And excuse me, since we're running kind of low on time, I feel like I've kept your attention long enough. What we'll do is we will we'll paste in a bit of this code here. So under your display resources, well, if we know that we're going to start displaying things, well, at that point we can get rid of our progress label. So what I'm writing here is if let progress label sk label node equals, now keep in mind there's a condition here. So if it finds a child node with the name progress and it is an sk label node, then we're going to go ahead and just hide it at that point. So hidden is going to be true, but we can copy this same code and we're going to bring it into our load resources with tag, and we're going to put this right above here, and we're going to set that to be false. So we're now showing our label. And then what we're going to do is set up an observer for the amount that has been loaded. And here we go. I'm going to go ahead and just paste this guy in. Let me get rid of that. So what we were going to do is, well, I got to set that up. But wait here, I'll do that real fast. This is just a little variable that we kind of use for the. Let me put it at the top. Just helps identify the particular progress thing that we're keeping an eye on. Okay, so here it is, resource request.progress. So the request has a progress property, and then we're adding an observer to this in self. This is the key for key path. This isn't really just code that I got straight from Apple. One of their videos. So fraction completed, and then the options dot new and dot initial. To be honest, I didn't even look that up. And then the context, again, this is just that progress scene KVO context that equals 0. So it's just a little bit of an extra identifier to making sure that we're paying attention to the right thing. And then let's go ahead and put in this big old chunk of code down here at the bottom that is going to handle monitoring that progress. Here it is. And if you want to start typing this out on your own, you could always just write let's see, func, and then as soon as you start writing observe value of whatever, it's probably not going to fill it in now because I've already got it, but it'll go ahead and just put all of that in there for you. And so the let's see, so we're checking context if it equals that same integer that we had up there, and the key path equals fraction completed. Okay, so that's referring back to the key path there. And then what we're doing is I'm just running a little print statement that is giving us the progress of it dot localized description, and then that basically ends up looking like 100% completed something. like that. We'll see it in a moment. And then so again, then we're just checking this, look at our progress label, making sure it's not hidden. So I'm just setting the hidden. Oh, wait. That should actually be false. Sorry. And then progress label, that would have been bad. Progress label.text is going to equal that same thing that we printed out over here. So nsprogress.localize description. And then finally what we're doing is just coming down here, and I believe, I guess, yeah, running it again. I don't know. Again, not my code. Okay, so what we've also got to do is get rid of this guy if things have loaded up successfully. And this one I know makes a little bit more sense. What we're going to do is just remove the observer. And of course, we're going to do that when we actually know that our on-demand resources are right there. And then, so that's resource request.progress, remove observer, and then just basically put in all that same information that you had again. Again, I mean, since we're all kind of testing all this locally, things are run super fast. We're not going to truly see we're not going to see it tick up, 1%, 2%, whatever. And first off, now it's also telling me the resources are already available. You can kind of clear that out, though. Got to reset content. So we're going to reset that out. Of course, at that point, you get a little bit of a crash, but that's to be expected. And then we got to, publish it all out again. So let's watch the simulator boot back up. Always ironic, isn't it? Booting up. Maybe I should plug it in too and charge it. Okay, so well, there you go. Actually, we saw 0% complete, and then it spikes up to 100% complete. So at least that's a good indication that things are working as we assumed, and this is exactly what would end up getting printed out to that progress label. So you can see that we've now, same thing as before. We've displayed it, and if you wanted to kind of check to see if well, here's a more practical usage of, I think more practical is what you would do is you'd preload all the assets for your particular level, right? And then prior to going to that level, what you would do is check to see if they're loaded, okay? And then instead of doing something like display resources, then you're going to actually transition to your next scene, right? So you might say self transition to level, and then you put in here whatever level that's going to be. Let's just put level 2, right? Or more likely, what you do is you extend this, so it would be like next level string, and then so you've got that right down there. So anytime you're running this, you're also throwing in there the next level to go to, and then you do the same thing right down here. So hopefully that makes sense. And then you can also get get a bit more fancy with your error message. If you've got to account for somebody possibly not being online, right? So in which case your error, you might want to tell them via the progress label that hey, some bad stuff went down, and we can just write that in there right now. We can just put in progress label dot text. Bad stuff happened, not my bad, but hey, the internet isn't for everyone. And just make sure nobody blames you. So anyway, yeah, and why am I still getting that error right there? Is it because, oh yeah, right, because I put in an extra parameter. Let's go ahead and get rid of that so you're not getting confused. But you do have that option to, of course, put in there, more parameters and really game it up to your own uses. And that's where I'm going to leave you for on-demand resources. And, certainly It's a really cool thing, and if you use it, then everybody else might use it, and then everyone's devices aren't as packed full of unnecessary levels and all that. Okay, so I'll see you next time.